Hey everybody, welcome to Ellis Mowers. I appreciate y'all watching as always. Y'all see it in the background of every video that I have probably ever put on the channel. It's now time to work on it a little bit. Nothing necessarily wrong with it apart from just preventative maintenance. And when I call preventative maintenance, I'm talking like 230,000 mile things that are worn out that need to be replaced. So while I'm in it, I'm going to go ahead and do everything so that I don't have to worry about it for a while, hopefully. Let's see how this takes off. In a nutshell, we're going to do the entire front end save for the struts. So sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun. I've got a lot of parts, a couple of new tools, and we'll see if we can get going on it. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. Remember, if you have any questions about anything that is on the channel, or if you're interested in more lawnmower related content, that's mostly what the channel is about. You can reach out to me, Ellis, at ellismowers.com. You can visit my website, ellismowers.com, or you can reach out to me on Instagram and Facebook at ellismowers09. Let's go ahead and get started on this element. I'll show you everything that I'm going to do to it, and then we'll get started. Alright, I got all the parts chilling in the back here. I angled it so that I can get to both sides because we're going to do both sides. One other thing we're going to have to do is I think I'm going to have to grease the caliper pins on the right rear because it seems like it's bringing off a lot more brake dust than the rest of the wheels. So we have Moog or Moog, however you want to call them, outer tie rods. We have inner tie rods. These are just Ultra Pro Power. And we have a CV axle. This is going to be for the left front. The left front's been leaking at the boot for a little while and needs to be replaced because, in a nutshell, they're getting really loud. We've got sway bar links and a couple of these, and we've got ball joints and wheel bearings because, like I said, I want to do it all while it's here. I think these are coil packs, so throw out that box. We're not going to deal with that box. But everything else here doesn't look like a lot of stuff. It is going to take a little bit of work to get it done. So let me go ahead. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get the wheels off, or I'm going to see if I can get the center caps off without damaging them. And if I can do that, then we'll go ahead and take the axle nuts off with the 26 millimeter. I'm going to have to do it. I got to do it for both sides because I'm going to take the hub assembly and knuckle off of both sides in order to replace the wheel bearings. This one in particular is really bad. I'll jack it up and I'll show it to you. I think I'm going to take the wheel off to take the center cap off so that I don't mess anything up. I'll jack it up and I'll show you kind of what noise it's making, and we'll also check, because I also want to show you, I don't know if you can see very well, you see how torn these boots are for these tie rod ends and stuff. I mean, it's just to the point where I'm ready to get them replaced. The ball joints I think are just as bad if I remember correctly. But I'm down here, you know, I want to go ahead and get all this done. Yeah, you can see those ball joints are really ripped down there too. So, again, 17 years and almost 230,000 miles. You cannot fault this vehicle at all. And I don't know if I can show you the axle boot down here too. You might be able to see it a little bit with the sun, but you see all the axle grease right there just from the torn boot for the left front CV axle. So the right front looks good, so I'm not worried about that. And like I said, I'll jack this up. I'll show you if it's making any noises or whatever. But man, this thing does roar, especially when you first take off. I don't think it's the tires, although the tires are starting to get a little old on it. They still have good tread, good wear. They're not wearing weird. So, like I said, I got to take the CV out anyways. I want to go ahead and do it all while I'm here, not have to worry about it for a long, long time. Alright guys, I'm at this point. I got the wheel off, and also my little M12 Milwaukee 1/2-inch drive impact with a 36 millimeter broke the axle nut loose, so that's great. You can see I have a little bit of rust. I live in North Carolina, but this came from I wouldn't call it Northern Virginia, but you can tell it's got a little bit of rust and stuff in here. Just over the, I guess, 10 to 12 years it was there. And we got a lot right here on the tie rod, but you can see how bad this boot is. I mean, it is absolutely shot. You can't really, it's still tight, which is good. But what we got to do now is get this castle nut off. That's not a castle nut. That's just a regular nut with a cotter pin. And we're going to replace them with the Delphis. The Moog were the ball joints. These are the tie rod ends. So I'm going to lube it up and see if I can get this off. And then once we get this off, then quite honestly, I'm not going to worry about getting it off of the inner tie rod here, because I'm going to try and take the inner tie rod off by itself, which hopefully will be easy. That's the one questionable thing about this job that I'm not sure of, is that. So let me work on loosening this bolt right here, and I'll get to you when we are ready to bang it off, so to speak. Alright guys, we're never this lucky this early on. But I took the cotter pin off. 19 millimeter broke it loose. And there we go. So tie rod end is off of the control arm. Now what I've got to do is take a hammer to this thing and just beat it out. Knock it loose after its 20 or 18 years of living, so to speak. So that's the next step, and then once we get that, I might see if I can get that inner tie rod out. I just don't think that one's going to be quite that easy, and I'll get some more light too. Hopefully we can see a little bit better. Alright, so hitting it with a hammer, just hitting the mess out of it. And then you'll see it pop. When it pops, that means you got it. So, boom, there we go. So now, what I've got to figure out, and I got to get some light back there, is I got to figure out how to get these inner tie rods off. They look like they're good, but if they got bushings on the inside, just like these outers, I just wanted to go ahead and, you know, take care of that while I'm here. And that way I don't have to do them at all after this, hopefully, as long as I don't break anything. Drive over bumps really bad. But the next thing we can do is, like I said, I'm going to try and get this inner tie rod off first. We might try these first, and then we might move on to the ball joints. We'll see where this leads us. Alright y'all, we're going to revisit the tie rods a little bit later. But you can see it's completely disconnected. I can do whatever. I have tapped this axle nut, or the axle threads in some, and it has retracted. Now I've got to get under the car and get the ball joints taken care of. Similar in nature to what we did with the tie rod in here. But we do have to pry it down in order to get the ball joint off of the steering knuckle. So I'm going to take care of that next. I think it's a castle nut. I'll get down under the car and we'll see what we got. Alright guys, we are on day 2 here. A lot of stuff I haven't filmed. There's no need to remake a video that is already probably one of the best videos out there from Eric the Car Guy. He has one of these, and pretty much everything you need to know about him you can figure out on his channel. I'm more of a vlog channel. Y'all might find this interesting still. Found my light over there. Should probably use it here, but still plenty of light. All right, here's the situation. We've gotten this one off, like the whole knuckle and everything. We've gotten the tie rod off, the outer one. I think because I've looked at the level of difficulty to do the inners, and the inners look okay, I think I'm just going to eat the money and try and resell the inners, or just keep them for future and maybe have a shop do them or something. I'm not sure, but the thing is, the tie rod kits that you can get at an auto parts store or to rent, they're not long enough because the tie rods go all the way to the middle of this thing. And I checked the middle. They're not leaking. The boots aren't torn or anything like that. So I'm not going to worry about doing those. I do have the stabilizer links right here. I replaced those. They were 14 millimeters, the original ones. And they actually came off. What I did is on the back side of where the nut sits, you have a little collar. And if you get it broke loose, and you got enough to where the threads aren't rusted, you can get on the back side of that collar with some needle nose vice grips, clamp it down, pull it out with the ratchet and socket, and just take those off and put them back on. I've seen where some people have to cut them off. It just kind of depends. So the CV axle is also out, most of it. The back portion did not come out. So I am going to have to pry, and pray on that in order to get it off. Coming to the other side here, I'm going to have to improvise a little bit, I think. So I rented a couple of tools from O'Reilly's. They did not have the Honda ball joint adapter tool, but they have the ball joint removal pickle fork, and this thing right here is just, it's either stretched the ball joint out or something along those lines. I cannot get it off for the life of me. So I'm keeping pressure on it, and hopefully it'll help pop it off. But I can show you real quick in order to get these brake assemblies off, the steering knuckle, whatever. You got a 21, 19 on the back side. You have a you want to take the ABS sensor and take it out as a complete unit, because I think these are bad about braking, and you don't want to do that. So you got a 10 millimeter right here for a bracket, a 10 millimeter right there for a bracket, and then the plug is underneath here somewhere. So you just have to take those off, and you're usually good to go. We've gotten this tie rod loose from the knuckle. So really my only and we got the axle nut loose. I was struggling really hard with that axle nut yesterday and let it sit overnight with some lubricant, and it ended up working out okay. And so this right here is going to be my hang up. I have got to get this off somehow, some way. I'll figure something out. I think if I just keep hitting it, it'll eventually pop. Maybe that penetrant lubricant, PV blast or whatever is going to suck down in there and get it a little bit. Let's come out to the workbench here. I went outside. It's actually decently nice right now. I took the brake pads off. I've never changed the brake pads, and I've had this car for 75,000 miles. So I'm either good on brakes or this thing's good on brakes. I do need to do a little bit of the rear. In terms of the wheel bearing, you can hear a little bit of roaring. I think I might have a little bit more tire noise than anything. I do have the ball joint out. Okay, here's the thing with the ball joints. I rented one of these tools from O'Reilly's, and it's just the generic kit. But they have Honda adapters that you can get. I did not get the Honda adapter. And that's mostly because it was not available in stock. So what I have done to get it off, to get it back on, may be a different story. I'm not sure yet. Now, getting back on shouldn't be too bad. We'll find out. Might be able to rig up some mess to make it work. But to get it off, I ended up, I don't know where the old ball joint is, I ended up cutting the threads off of the ball joint. And then I found a, what was it? Was it the 19 millimeter deep well? Might have been the 32. No, it was the 15/16 deep well socket. Popped it on there, and then there's the old threaded threads of the old bolt. Get that out. And then I just centered it up, threw the impact on it, which happened to be 15/16, which doesn't make any sense. Maybe I had the 19 millimeter. I think it was a 19 millimeter because I used the 15/16 to get it off. So I had a 19 millimeter deep well, and I just pressed it and impacted it off. It actually came off relatively easily. I was kind of surprised. So now I'm at the point to get the ball joint back on, and my mission is, if I can get the ball joints back on, I can take all these tools back tomorrow, because I only get them for 48 hours. And then if I can get to the point where I am doing wheel bearings, or very close to doing wheel bearings tomorrow, I'll be happy. Because my hang up now, I've got to take the hub off. I got to take the brake caliper bracket off and take the hub off. And I might end up having to put rotors on this thing, because these are the ones that are screwed on, and the last time I did Honda brakes, I had to cut off the set screws. Not fun. But we'll cross that bridge. I've done that before. I'm comfortable with doing it. It's just gonna suck because I had to pay another $70 for rotors. Although these rotors have 70-some thousand miles on them, at least. So, I mean, was it really a loss or not, you know? That's where I'm at. I just wanted to update you. I know I haven't been filming a lot of the repairs, mostly because I don't do this very often. I want to tell you how I'm doing it, because I'm not completely 100% sure, whereas a bunch of other people are more sure of their stuff on YouTube. So, I hope y'all enjoyed this update. I'll keep on cruising here. I think I'm going to press this new ball joint in next. I'll tell you how that goes, and if I can do it with the tools that I have sitting here, which I should be able to, but getting it off I think was the hardest part. Alright guys, I've got update number 2 here on day number 2. I'm on the right side, and I finally got the ball joint off. So I used quite a few unconventional methods, but we got it. So the fork here ran out of space, ran out of room, and it would not for the life of me pop off the ball and the threads on the control arm there. Once it did, or I was able to get it, but here's what I did to try and do this first. Let me get the light kind of away so that y'all can kind of see a little bit better. So what I ended up doing is I took there was a file here. I saw a video on YouTube about a file to help jack it up. I tried to pry it in there and get more leverage, and what that ended up doing, if I can show you in the trash can, is it ended up actually popping the ball itself off of the ball joint. I don't know where it's at in here now, but it popped the ball off of the ball joint and left me with just a ball. Here we go, here it is. Left me just with this ball and this stud on the control arm, and I was able to get the knuckle off and all that stuff. So I still have to press the old ball joint off of the knuckle. However, I was left with this stud and ball on the control arm. I took the ball joint tool that I rented. I'm going to have to clean that up really good before I take it back. But I cleaned up the ball joint tool, or put the ball joint tool on here, put the big side on the top, small side on the bottom, and use my torque M12 Milwaukee, and just kept cranking and cranking, and finally that thing went pop. Obviously after with a lot of PV Blaster and lubricant. So it's off. I hope I haven't damaged the control arm or anything along those lines. I've got the calipers hanging up. On this side I have put the tie rod on and the stabilizer link. On the other side I have put the tie rod on as well, the outer tie rod. Like I said, the inners look good, and I don't think I'm interested in trying to do anything with them, because they look pretty like a pretty big challenge. So I'm at that point. This CV is not coming out, so this CV is not coming out, so we'll have to put that back in. In a minute, actually, and probably tomorrow. Plan is now I'm gonna pull everything inside because it's now dusk. All I want to do tonight is get this ball joint out and get it back in, and if I do that, I can take these tools back tomorrow and I'll be golden. So let me go ahead and get that done. Hopefully it won't be too late when I finish. And then all that's left to do, really, there's a lot left to do, but I do have to get I think I gotta get the rotors and the whole brake assembly off to the hub, and then once I get to the hub, I can pull the wheel bearings off, and I might have to go get a wheel bearing tool. I'm not quite sure yet, but same on both sides. So we're about at the same position on both sides here. I've got to pull that CV axle somehow, some way, and I'm not sure how to do it, because basically the innards came out when I tried to pull it, and so that means I'm gonna have to air chisel it out or do something. I'm not quite sure. That's my biggest worry remaining. I've got the shop press here, which I'm super excited to use, not only for the wheel bearings in this, but also for wheel bearings and mowers and stuff coming up. So I'm super excited for that. I love that it's really pretty small, and it's going to make my life a lot easier. So when it comes to putting these wheel bearings in. Anyways, that's where I'm at right now. I'm going to swap these wheel bearings out right here in this, and then I'm going to call it a night, and I'll catch y'all tomorrow, hopefully with not these tools anymore. Alright guys, we are on day 3. We made good progress on day 2. I think where I left you, I had the first ball joint in. I now have the second ball joint in. There is a difference between the two for some reason. This one's got a grease fitting on it. This one right here doesn't seem like it was made as well, but it doesn't have a grease fitting on it. I think I could take that little thing off and put one on it. But this one right here, when I pressed it in, it didn't break the snap ring holder, but it did kind of crack it a little bit, just because I guess it might have caught itself on something. You know how the tolerances are very tight here. And then the boot is kind of, I don't know if I can get the boot quite right on it, but it'll probably press itself down whenever I push it in. So I'm not terribly worried about that. As long as I can just get it to stay up for installation, we'll be fine. You can see very, very greasy on the inside. Like I said, as long as we can just get it to stay up. When I mount it on the control arm, that should be fine. This one went in beautifully though. This one went in absolutely beautifully. A little bit of tear at the boot at the top there. Not a tear, but just kind of just a little bit of a ridge. Again, I've never done ball joints before, so the fact that that's all that happened on my first try, I'll take it. Wheel bearings, this is the left front, which I thought was a bad one. It sounds okay. But this is the right front over here. Listen to this one. So this one was in definite need of replacement. The one big hurdle that I have left to do is get CV axle off. And I don't quite know how I want to approach that yet. But we'll look and see what I need to do in order to accomplish that. And once I figure that out, I'll let you know. I just need to get under it. I think I might do the wheel bearings first, and then I'll get under this thing, get that CV out, and then we get to have fun putting it all back together, which shouldn't be too bad. I do hope that doing all this will fix the, I got like a little creak or like a bump sounding whenever I go over bumps on the right side. So I hope that I hope what we're doing here, this suspension fixes that. It might be a strut, honestly. And the thing, I'm looking at the struts and they actually look really good. They're nice and dry. And where I saw it on here somewhere, they're the original struts to the car. So that's really nice. And once we get that back together, I just have to take the rear wheel and do the caliper pins, because you can see the wheels are mighty dirty because I haven't washed in a while. But you can see that one is absolutely covered in brake dust. So just gotta do that with the caliper slide pins to get them sliding again. These kind of look like they're a little frozen, but no, they're okay. I could grease them up while they're out, but really not too bad. And I don't notice it when I'm driving either, so that's a good thing. That one's good. That one's better than this one. This one right here is a little bit, leaves a little to be desired. Hopefully I showed you that on camera, but we'll get some grease in there and see what we can do with it. Get something in there at least. But that's what's going on here. I'm going to keep on working. I'm going to put my press to work, kind of mount everything up like I need to in order to get everything pressed in, and hopefully we will be good to go here before long. Yeah, so that's where I'm at right now, cruising along. I would love to, at the very least, have the wheel bearings in today. Bonus would be have it all back together, save for the CV axle. So at the very least, maybe I can get the right side back on. So maybe I'll try the right bearing first, and then put all that back together, and then get the CV out, put the left. I don't know. I'll figure the process. I'll update you later on in the day. Alright guys, I used a hub and seal driver to get everything out, and it worked pretty well. We don't have the bearings out of the hub or out of this yet, off of the knuckle. But something interesting to note, this was the left front, which I said sounded like it wasn't really anything going on with it. You can see that bearing is tight and is rolling relatively freely. We go to this one. If you look at all the rollers in this, you see how they're discolored? That likely means they got some heat in them at some point. And how I mentioned that this one was making like grinding type noise, or that growling noise, that would make sense. Cool difference though. You can tell these had some heat in them, like I said, and did that. So now I've got to get my pliers, my tool, to squeeze the clips out of it, and then we can press out the rest of the bearing here out of the knuckle. But to get the hubs off, I took this old mower tire that I had out here, and excuse me, I just put this in here and just kind of let it rest on the knuckle and just hit it out. I don't think I bent my dust covers too bad. I'll check them when I get it back on the car just to see. But again, going with what I got here. So let me keep working, and I will see what we end up with in terms of getting the bearings out. I don't think it'll be too bad to get them out here. Alright guys, I've got a success and a hang up. I'll start with the hang up. This nut for the ABS sensor, the second ABS sensor, the one on the left side, I believe, yes, is having issues getting off. It's trying to round off on me, and I don't want to round the bolt off. The success is I got the bearing, I guess it's the outer race, off of the hub, and I was just able to kind of grind that down to nothing, and then hit a chisel with it and a hammer right there, and I was able to crack it, and that was able to get it off of the hub. So that's good. I've got that done. Another hang up I've got is the hubs. These snap ring pliers themselves I don't have snap ring pliers big enough to pull this clip off. So what I've got to do is I've got to find some, truthfully, because I ain't going to be able to get the job done without them. And then I should be able to press the old bearing out, press the new one in, and then we get to reassemble everything. But I've got to figure out how to get this off without screwing up the bolt or the sensor, because I do have to put that sensor back into the knuckle somehow, some way, and I got to do something in order for that to work. So let me figure out what I'm going to do, and I'll keep on cruising. But actually, honestly, it's not going terribly so far. Could be going a whole lot worse, I would say. Alright guys, it is the end of day 3. I apologize if the lens is a little bit messed up. I guess it's just been in the dirt and the grease and stuff. But although it kind of doesn't look like we did a lot today, we did get a lot done. The only reason why I'm stopping now is because I don't have these snap ring pliers. My dad does, and I'll get them from him tomorrow. If not, I'll go buy. If they don't work, I'll go buy some. It doesn't really matter. However, like I said, we're in pretty good shape. Another big milestone is I got the CV axle out, and I got the new one in. I just have to monitor to make sure that axle seal holds and doesn't leak any fluid. If it does, then we'll pop in a new axle seal. Cleaned up some of the grease. I will clean up more of it once I get more of it back together. But like I said, it looks like everything's dry now after I cleaned it up. I didn't have it in all the way, and so it was kind of at that fine point to where it was dripping and leaking a little bit. But we've got it here. It's popped in, and the old one actually just came out with the pry bar. Just barely put any pressure on it, and it worked beautifully. I have sanded these hubs down. I have one little mark on this one where the grinder slipped, and there's a mark about the same size on the other one kind of further in. I sanded them down, smoothed them out, and they should be just fine. Man, we're down to hardly any parts here. Like I said, I'm not doing the inner tie rods. If I need to do them at a later time, they'll be here, and they're easy enough to do. I can do them at a later time. They're easy enough to get to anyways, and I can improvise. The only thing is I have to improvise on how I do the tie rod tool. But all that's left to do is wheel bearings, which is great. Put those in, and we should be ready to roll after that. Putting some bolts back together, knuckles back on. popping the ball joints in place on the control arms and the tie rods on the tie rod arm there, and doing the brakes and all that good stuff. So we're getting there, guys. A lot closer than when I was on at the beginning of the week, which is really cool. Tools everywhere, that happens all the time. I'll figure out where everything goes. It's only but so much around here. So luckily it's a lot of parts, but not a lot of hardware you got to take off, thankfully, unlike what you can get into in an engine. So that's it for today. I'm going to clean everything up, or at least organize it to where I know where it is, and then we'll start back this. For y'all, all intents and purposes, will be tomorrow, but it'll be 2 days for me, most likely. All right, everybody, here is the day 5, last day, hopefully, of this. I don't remember what I did telling you when I left off, because it has been a couple of days. Had a pretty busy staying with a few things. But we've got everything in now, and when I mean everything in, I mean everything in now to the point where I'm able to put it back onto the vehicle. Some things you got to remember. Sorry if you hear hiccups, but the skill set and the resources that I have, even with this press, were not enough for me to do wheel bearings properly. And so instead of trying to beat my brains out here, I just took these to a machine shop and ended up just having them take care of them. I think that was the better move, honestly. And excuse me, I'm sorry, guys, fighting these hiccups. They pressed the bearings in for me. It was $55 a side, and it was $120 total after tax. But they're in, and they're in properly, hopefully. You know, these have the ABS. Some of them don't have ABS, but these have ABS, and the ABS ring is on the back side of these. And you stick the sensor in right there, and it reads the wheel speed. So, and that's how the ABS works on these. So these are ready to be put back on. I do need to add a grease fitting to this, and I've got to figure out this one here. See if I can add one to this. I think I can just take like some vice grips or pliers and take that off, and be good to go on that. But that ball joint seems to be on there good now. I was able to take that rubber cover and get it on there good. Sorry, guys. Sorry for the hiccups. But and I don't see any leaking from the transmission anymore from after I put that in incorrectly. I think we're good on that end as well, so that's awesome. And I think we're just at the point to where, excuse me, I'm sorry, guys. We're going to put this back together and hopefully have this thing driving today, which would be fantastic. So all I got to do is put these knuckles on, and then once I put these knuckles on, I can go ahead and put all the brake hardware and stuff back on as well, and hook up all the sensors and everything. I think I might start on the right side and do the left side second. So that's kind of where I'm at. Get all my hardware and stuff put together. I'm just going to go to town on it, and I'll show you kind of the finished product and any sort of challenges that I may have had putting it back together. Alright, guys, I just cranked it out here for a couple hours. Everything is back on. There was nothing, really no frills about it. A couple of things that you got to remember is to torque the nut 181 foot-pounds. You got your brake. You got to put your brake hardware and stuff back on. Check your slide pins on your calipers and all that good stuff. And your little clips, your retaining clips for your brake pads as well that help them pull out from the rotor. Just remember to put them in also. Again, tie rod right there, ready to rock and roll. Ball joints down here on the bottom, ready to roll as well. And this side we've got the new CV and ball joint and all that stuff. I did do a little bit of degreasing as much as I could down there. That grease is some thick mess, I'll tell you that. Again, brake hardware and all that stuff. I'm gonna go wash my hands, hop in this thing, and take it for a little bit of a drive to see if it drives okay. Obviously, I'm not gonna drive it very far. I'm gonna steer it in the garage here just to make sure that the steering seems good before I get it out on the road. I will take it a couple of miles, and obviously, like I said, I'm gonna go get an alignment done. The good news is I live right in town, and I won't have to go but maybe a mile on her before I have to get this thing realigned. Upon first glance, it looks pretty good actually, but you never just throw ball joints and tie rods on something and just drive it, because that's pretty dumb to not get an alignment. Obviously, I don't have an alignment machine here. I had the press here, but I will say this much. If you can get these bearings pressed in and out for about $100 for the pair, $120, do it. It was worth it, because I'd probably still be beating on these things if not, and probably messing them up, because I am not that skilled of a mechanic, if you want to call me that. But we got it all back on. I'm gonna wash my hands and test this thing out. I'll let you know what happens. Alright guys, well it left the garage. That's a good thing. No, seriously, I got it hanging over here. It's just fine. I can tell quite a difference in front end noise. You don't realize how bad wheel bearings are and axle seals are until you put new wheel bearings and axles in, for the left front anyways, for the axle. At 35, when you first set off, I'd go down into town and it was so loud you would think it was tire noise, the way that it sounded. And I'm glad that it's not, because if it was still as loud as it was after doing all this, I'd have been a little upset. But it's really not. It's super quiet now. You can roll along 55 or 65 and have a nice conversation with your passenger instead of having to hear whoa 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 whoa, or a really loud road noise. I only drove about 5 miles. I'm gonna put an alignment on it on Monday, take it to get it aligned. But definitely worth the time and worth the effort. And now I get to enjoy this thing a whole lot better when it comes to driving it. Ball joints and tie rods look good, holding up just fine. I would think that if I had any substantial issue or big thing that I forgot, that it would show up within the first 5 miles of driving, and nothing has shown up. So that's a good thing. Let's wrap this video up and get on to Mowers again, because I'm ready. Alright guys, we'll wrap this video up. Cost-wise, I'll have to go add it up, but I think we did it all for, I think we're all done for under 500 bucks doing it ourselves, including the labor for the wheel bearings, and I think it includes me buying this press here, which I'll use for pressing in bearings on mower wheels. I come across that quite often. And whatever other things I encounter coming into the garage. It doesn't take up a lot of space, and it's going to work out really well. Like I said, I think we're all done, including the press, for less than $500. I think parts were like $250 or something like that. And obviously time, pretty much three afternoons and one Saturday morning, so to speak. Didn't get started until kind of later today. But At 230,000 miles, we have transformed the driving experience. It's a lot tighter at the wheel, which is great, and it seems to drive better, and it is so much quieter. And once I get the alignment done, it's probably going to be even better than that. So I'm looking forward to that. Obviously, I did not put the inner tie rods in like y'all saw. I looked at them and saw how difficult that they were going to be to replace, and I said, if I have to do it, I'll do it another time. I have them here. If I've got to do it, I'll do them. I just need a bunch of special tools, but the way that the access is, you don't really have to take any steering knuckles or anything off to get to them. You just have to unbolt the tie rod, pop it out, and then do the inner tie rod. You just have to find some sort of way, because those tie rods are so long, they literally span to the middle of the vehicle, and I haven't really found a good way for that people have said to get them off easily. And looking at the condition of those, there weren't any torn boots or dry rotted boots on them. I decided not to go ahead and do that. I don't think I had a ton of money in the inners, and it was less than $50, I think. So they'll just chill here. If I need them, great. If not, I'll sell them. Well, I won't never sell that thing, so I'll just have them forever, I guess, right? So thank y'all again for watching. This is quite a bit different. Again, I know it's probably not the best how-to video to do things, because that was more of a vlog and a narrative. It's just, the thing is, y'all see that Honda Element in every single one of my videos, and I just figured, hey, I'm about to do some major work, the most work I've ever done on it, honestly. Let me document it. So maybe you learned something. Maybe you enjoyed just me, hanging out in the garage, getting some things done on this thing. But again, some people would get rid of cars because, oh my gosh, it's so loud when you drive it. But think of the thousands of dollars people have in those versus the few $100 that it took me to do that. Really, that thing's been great. I've had it almost 7 years, and it keeps on cruising along. Just general maintenance for the mileage, nothing crazy. And y'all saw them brakes. I have never put brakes on this thing, which is kind of something else. And we've got probably half life on them things still. And the tires, y'all saw how good the tires are. Those are like almost over 50,000 miles on them tires right now. They're starting to dry rot a little bit, but it's what all tires do after about 6 years on the road. So thank y'all again. I hope y'all enjoyed the video. If you need to reach out any questions or whatever, or you enjoyed lawnmower stuff, feel free to subscribe to the channel. My website's ellismowers.com. My email is ellis@ellismowers.com, and you can reach out to me on Facebook and Instagram at ellismowers09. Thank y'all for all the support as always. Until the next video, I'll see you then.